Robert Verbruggen with National Review Online joins us. Robert, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
Thanks very much for coming back on the program. Good talking to you.
You too.
You had a interesting piece at National Review Online. What is next for gun rights? And, I got to say, good timing on this because we just saw the Senate bill, the Right to Carry Reciprocity Act, drop today. It's Senate Bill 2188. This is a bill that cleared the House by a bipartisan vote, 275 votes. I believe last November is when that vote was taken. We've also seen a number of big legal decisions over the past couple of weeks when it comes to the right to keep and bear arms.
That's right. It's everything is happening sort of all at once here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you talk about this conference at Fordham University, hosted by the Fordham Urban Law Journal last Friday. Were you there for that?
Yes, I was.
All right, so it was interesting. We had Dave Kopel, who was one of the speakers, but I'm curious, as somebody who attended this, what did you take away from the conference that was held at Fordham Law?
Well, basically the bottom line is that the Heller and McDonald decisions, as great as they were, didn't really resolve a lot of things. We're still fighting about a lot of the same things we were fighting about before. It's just that right now handgun bans are off the table, and we have to figure out where we're going from there.
Yeah, well, and that's interesting because one of the things that clearly is making its way through the court system right now are right to carry issues. We just saw a federal judge in Maryland strike down that state's quote-unquote may issue. It's actually more of a probably not going to issue statute in that state. The state of Maryland says it's going to appeal. You've got a case out in California called the Peruta case, which is on appeal right now. A judge in San Diego County said that it was okay that California's sheriffs could deny people their ability to carry concealed for no reason because they always had the ability to openly carry an unloaded firearm for self-defense. Well, now the state legislature in California has taken away that option, so you really don't have a guaranteed way to exercise your right to keep and bear arms. And so, was there a lot of discussion about right to carry issues, concealed carry issues?
Yeah, in fact, the California case was something that we talked about a little bit, and it just seems even the people who are on the pro-gun control side were talking about what a stupid move it was to take away the right of open carry because the case hinged on that. The decision hinged on that, and they upheld the concealed carry ban, which is what they really want, on the grounds that you could openly carry, and then to take that away was sort of shooting themselves in the foot.
Isn't that funny, though? I mean, on the one hand, they complain about that, but on the other hand, the Brady campaign and others have done public relations campaigns attacking the idea of open carry. So, while they may be complaining, oh, that was a horrible move, they have gone after the idea of carrying a firearm, whether it's openly or concealed. They it seems, still want, while they say handgun bans are off the table, they still want to restrict the right to keep and bear arms to your living room, your kitchen, and maybe your bedroom.
Right. I mean, most people who are against or in favor of gun control are just very uncomfortable around guns in general, in my experience. And I think that's what the anti-open carry movement sort of draws from, is they're just very uncomfortable having guns out in the open. But it does, to me, seem kind of silly for them. I think if they're really against the carrying of weapons in general, I think they're going to see a lot less carrying if you make people carry them openly. So I think that's what people were getting at when they said it was a bad move for them to ban open carry, even though it might jeopardize their concealed carry restrictions.
Interesting. Now, you had an opportunity to hear from some of the gun control advocates like Richard Aborn, who has been on a gun control quest over the past couple of years, Michael Pastor. An interesting quote from Michael Pastor, who said, we don't sit in our offices debating about whether people have an individual right. Well, you could have fooled me. I mean, honestly, it's been 4 years since Heller, and I don't recall a single gun control organization filing a friend of the court brief supporting the idea of an individual right to keep and bear arms.
That's true. I mean, I think they're all rushing to sort of just make their peace with Heller because they know they're not going to overturn that, even if they get another anti-gun Supreme Court justice. I don't think the court's going to reconsider the basic finding of Heller anytime soon. So they're just sort of saying, okay, this is the way it is. So let's pretend that we like it, sort of thing.
You are much more optimistic than I am, Robert. I'll be honest with you. I mean, given the minority opinion in McDonald, four-person minority, which absolutely sought to relitigate the Heller decision and overturn it and call for a complete reexamination. you know, if you switch one or two justices on the Supreme Court and you replace, let's say, a Justice Scalia with somebody who has the mindset of a Justice Kagan or a Justice Ginsburg, honestly, I'm not sure that I would trust that anti-gun 5-person majority to leave Heller and McDonald alone.
Well, maybe you're right. In my reading, though, the Supreme Court has historically let precedents sit for at least a little bit before they tinker with it. But maybe you're right. Maybe this is something that we'll be dealing with again in just a few years here.
Well, and as you pointed out, one of the things that both supporters and opponents of the right to keep and bear arms said yesterday was that Heller and McDonald were first steps, but clearly that's not the end of the story. So the game plan for the anti-gunners is, I think, to limit this right and to make it be a right that is as narrow as possible with future litigation and in these future court cases.
Absolutely. If you put another anti-gun justice on the Supreme Court and even if they leave Heller and McDonald alone, you could have a very narrow right that basically makes no difference, as we see from the attempts of cities like D.C. and Chicago to replace their gun bans with restrictions that are just incredibly onerous.
Absolutely. So, were you? Did you learn anything interesting? Were you surprised by anything you heard yesterday at Fordham?
Surprised? I learned first of all just the quotes that I was able to get from the anti-gun side. I thought it was really interesting to see what sort of restrictions that they're going to be pushing for now. Especially, I think private sales are really on the table for them. They're really going to push to make sure that private sales go through background checks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This is one of the things that they have been touting for some time. In fact, I think I saw, maybe it was the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence in referring to the voter ID laws, said, well, you have to show an ID to vote, but you don't have to show an ID to buy a gun, talking about private sales of firearms, which I think is interesting given that we don't actually have, you can't find a right to vote in our Constitution, but you can find a right to keep and bear arms in our Constitution.
Right. I think that's right. I guess I think the problem that the pro-gun side is going to have, though, is that it's rather difficult to explain to people why if I buy a gun from a licensed dealer, I should have to go through a background check, but if I turn around and go to a private seller, I don't. I mean, I think that, especially given that even organizations like the NRA have been supportive of instant background checks, I think it's going to be difficult to get the message out about why it's such a problem to require private sales.
To me, it was interesting. We were talking earlier this evening. I think it was Lisa Fritsch with Project 21, the National Leadership of Black Conservatives. We were talking about that Texas voter ID law. And she brought up the analogy of buying beer. You've got to be 21. You got to show ID to buy beer in the state of Texas. But when I give my neighbor a beer, I don't require that he show me his driver's license. You know what I'm saying? I mean, once I obtain a firearm as a private citizen, it is my private property. And if we are going to say that, in essence, if you want to sell your car, Robert, you've got to go through a car dealership because you don't really know what condition that car is in as a consumer, as a buyer. So it's far better to make sure that all of these transactions go through a certified car dealership where you can make sure that you're not buying a lemon.
Right. That's the message I think that the pro-gun side is going to have to get out to people who are considering these issues.
I don't think it's just a pro-gun issue. I think it's a private property issue. I mean, honestly, is there something inherently different about the inanimate object that is a firearm as opposed to a set of kitchen knives or, again, a car with a big old Hemi under the hood? If that's the argument, that you don't actually have a right to dispose of your private property, if we're talking about a firearm, I'm willing to have that discussion and that debate. I would hate to think we've gotten to the point in this country where our own private property means so little to us. But if that's the argument that the anti-gunners are going to go after, then I guess that's the discussion we'll have to have.
Yeah, that was a sense I got at the conference, that this is really the thing that a lot of people are talking about. So.
Well, I'm sure that'll really help them in their quest to be seen as pro-freedom. Robert, thank you again, sir, for your time tonight. I really appreciate it, and hope we can do this again soon, sir.
Sure thing. Thank you.